I'm going to go ahead and officially kick us off. Happy Thursday, everybody. My name is Chris Kane, and I'm the Chief Experience Officer here at Alternatives Federal Credit Union. And I want to welcome you to the 2020 virtual annual meeting. So welcome. I'm so delighted to see that the clouds are clearing. And there was a moment I'm like, it's 2020. It's been kind of nutty. Is there going to be a thunderstorm and things? There is not. So tonight we are gathering together to celebrate Alternatives Federal Credit Union. And you guys know, as being a community development credit union, we are all about financially empowering everybody in our community. That is us as an organization, our businesses in the community to hire folks and get people's households financially stable through a combination of education, support, and access to capital. So that sounds about right about what we do. So tonight we're going to be celebrating that quite a bit. When I was preparing my talk tonight, I was trying to find something that would kind of bring it all together for what's happening in the world right now, what's happening with the credit union in our community. And I came across one of our 4 pillars, and the one for being socially responsible, and it's this. We believe that the use of money has social, political, and economic consequences, and we are focused on ethical and responsible business practices that allow us to put our energy, money, and time back into our community. I believe, and I think you guys feel the same, is that these words are more true now than I think ever before in our 41-year history. So I'm delighted to be here to celebrate with you guys tonight. So what are we going to be celebrating? We're going to be motivated by Eric's CEO report in just a minute. We're going to celebrate 20 years of our community programs and the 37-year career of Carol Turnikoff. Hi, Carol.
Hi.
Hi. And we're also going to give a handful of awards to our dedicated staff, board, and community members. And then we're going to be moving into some board business at the end. We're going to, and then we're going to wrap it up. Therese is going to lead us out on some great tunes. And Michelle Courtney Berry, our Chief Marketing Officer, hello, Michelle, is going to be wrapping us up for the evening. Now, a couple of quick things for you guys to be aware of. During the board business, we're going to actually have 3 polls. So those polls will be popping up on your screen. The first poll is going to be getting a quorum, because we need at least 15 folks in our annual meeting to say, hey, we're here. So that there's going to be a poll to say, hi, there's at least 15 of us. The second is going to be voting on the slate of the board nominees. So rather than having individual ballots this year, we're going to be voting on an entire slate for the new board nominees. And then the third poll is going to be during the Alternatives Fund of Ithaca's business, and we're going to be voting on the director terms. Now, a couple of housekeeping things. If you're a speaker, listen. You guys all should know about what time you're supposed to be speaking. Time can ebb and flow a little bit depending on how fast and slow things are going. So listen for the person who's supposed to be introducing you. Whenever you're ready for that, unmute yourself. Everybody should stay muted throughout this entire annual meeting, and only speakers unmute themselves. So whenever you hear your name be called, step up to the screen, hit unmute, and do your moving and shaking, and then unmute whenever you are finished. So thank you guys. Also, you can certainly use the chat function if you need to talk to someone specifically throughout the annual meeting. And one last kind of amazing thing. Tomorrow, Alternatives is going to be closing at 1 p.m. to celebrate Juneteenth. So I'd like to thank Alternatives and the staff here for making that decision to celebrate Juneteenth tomorrow. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Eric Levine. He is the CEO of Alternatives. Take it away, Eric.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining our first virtual annual meeting. Although this is a look back to 2019, we know that we're online because of the constraints brought to bear by COVID-19. So I want to take a moment to acknowledge all the impacts of the pandemic for everyone, but most particularly for our communities of color, those in poverty who are most impacted. We are witnessing what many believe is another civil rights movement. Our friend Jeff Furman will be addressing these and other key points this evening. So I'll pause here and we'll pick up this critical conversation later tonight. I am happy to report that Alternatives had a very strong year in 2019. Many of those great stories can be found in the annual report, and I hope you'll download it right from our homepage of our website. Chief Marketing Officer Michelle Courtney Berry led a great effort to produce the report, along with our Chief Experience Officer Chris Kane, who both organized this virtual annual meeting. Thank you, Michelle and Chris. The main theme tonight is to celebrate the 20th year anniversary of Community Programs Department. Our Community Programs Department is one of the major reasons Alternatives is unique and more impactful than nearly any financial institution in the world. Although many elements of financial services are complex, our business model is simple. As a financial cooperative, we earn money by providing top-notch banking services for the whole community. Then we deploy that money right back into the local community by offering stellar community programs and unique lending programs that change lives. We help our members move along the credit path so that they can reduce their anxieties about financing, building assets, growing savings, and becoming owners. This is community building. This is what we value. This is what makes the communities we serve stronger. Here at Alternatives, we have 7 full-time employees delivering community programs, plus other supports that include many staff, contractors, and volunteers. If I were to sum up Alternatives 2019 in just one word, it would be impactful. So you'll see an infographic right there that shows the impact of community programs over the past year. 658 counseling one-on-one appointments, most of which were for financial and/or credit counseling, in addition to many interactive financial education classes. Our Business Sense business services staff held 474 one-on-one consultations, 56% of which were women business owners and 23% of which were business owners of color. Our student credit union ran 8 branches in all Ithaca City School District elementary schools, with 2 new branches opened in Trumansburg in both the elementary and middle schools. And our free tax preparation program served over 2,800 clients with about $5.3 million in total refunds, including about $2 million in earned income tax credits, which is the new money coming into the community. Since its inception in 2003, Alternatives has prepared well over 30,000 free returns for nearly $55 million in refunds. We do this because the history of the financial industry is definitely not a story of diversity and inclusion. Alternatives strives to increase access to banking, credit, and knowledge for those who have been traditionally ignored and often forgotten by the mainstream financial institutions. And that is exactly why and how Alternatives came to be 41 years ago. We began as a cooperative group of aspiring entrepreneurs and small businesses who were marginalized by the mainstream banking industry because they were not deemed to have sufficient income, credit, and/or assets. 40 years later, we're not just a full-service, technologically savvy financial institution. We are also a movement. We pride ourselves on being a formidable force striving to eradicate poverty while directly supporting our local economy, while working with other like-minded economic development partners in our region. All this impressive life-changing work is possible because of the wonderful and dedicated staff and board at Alternatives, as well as the support of our members, whose deposits are loaned out locally to people who need access to credit, and whose borrowing and use of our debit card provide the income to run our many wonderful initiatives and programs. Credit unions are not-for-profit cooperatives and have volunteer boards of directors. We know what a great commitment of time and energy goes into being on our board. And so at this time, I'd like to recognize our directors. Departing President Ashley Cake, Vice President Leslie Ackerman, Treasurer Jim Fravel, Secretary Jessa Edwards, Leonardo Vargas Mendez, Brian DeYoung, and departing Director Kenny Christensen. Everyone, please give them a virtual round of applause. I'd also like to recognize our 50 dedicated staff who live our mission to serve the members every single day. And let's have another round of applause. Without our members and other supporters, we could not exist, and we thank you as well. We also applaud you, our members. Thank you for the gift of your time this evening. We have an exciting program ahead. Remember, we're all in this together. Let's move on to saluting 20 years of Community Programs Department. I introduce to you a man who needs no introduction, Alternative's Chief of Community Development, Carl Graham.
Thank you, Eric. And thanks to all of you for joining us tonight to in part celebrate 20 years of our Community Programs Department. In our 1998 annual report, Bill Myers, our founding CEO, said this: "We are not a bank that uses capital to gather profit. We use capital to create community." Hence, community programs are asset building, financial education, and community building programs. The programs are Business Sense, run by Kathleen Clark; Financial Education, Credit and Financial Counseling, run by Brendan Wilbur and Kim Ritter; the Free Tax Program, run by Brian Zaff; and the Student Credit Union and Youth Financial Education Program, run by Joe Cummins. Joe was not able to join us tonight, so I'll say a little bit more about the Student Credit Union a little bit later in our program. Community programs differentiate alternatives and all other community development credit unions from other types of financial institutions. These programs have a profound and lasting impact on our communities. As you can see from the infographic on your screens, over 20 years, we have helped thousands of community members achieve their financial goals, including homeownership and business development. We have helped thousands of young people develop a savings habit and learn to manage their money. We have brought millions of dollars into our community through the Free Tax Program and from federal, state, and foundation grants. Michael Sheridan, a professor at Washington University in St. Louis, whose research has shown the importance of owning assets and lifting people out of poverty, said this: "While incomes feed people's stomachs, assets change their minds." I'd like now to introduce you to our program leaders, who over their careers at Alternatives have helped thousands of community members change their minds. First, Kathleen Clark, Director of Business Development.
Am I back?
All right. Okay, we may be having some difficulties with Kathleen. I can't hear.
I apologize. I'm having
there you go. Okay.
trouble with my connection. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you
I wanted
fine.
to share a little bit about the work I did with one of my clients, Mercedes, who's a jewelry maker and the owner of Red Metal Jewelry. So over the past 12 plus months, probably, we've worked together. Mercedes and I began working together when she was interested in applying for a business loan, and she needed some assistance writing her business plan, as well as preparing her financial projections. We started meeting in person, as well as exchanging information through email, and quickly realized it'd be best if we met weekly, which we did so religiously. And after a couple months of working closely together, Mercedes was ready to submit her complete application package and was approved for a line of credit through our business lending department, to help her grow her business. Mercedes also took advantage of our free tax preparation program services. After the loan closed, we continued to meet weekly to focus on credit management and expansion plans. And Mercedes has grown her business to not only have local customers, but also pieces available in her Etsy shop, as you're seeing, which can be shipped nationwide, and has even formed relationships to sell jewelry in a couple shops located on the island of St. John. We're all very proud of Mercedes and all that she's accomplished, and encourage everyone to visit her Etsy shop, Red Metal Jewelry. Next up, I'd like to introduce our Community Programs Manager, Brendan Wilbur.
Hey, thank you so much, Kathleen Clark. My name is Brendan Wilbur. I'm the Community Programs Manager, and as Carl said, I oversee our financial counseling, credit counseling, and financial education programs. I wanted to take some time not to necessarily highlight someone I've had a conversation with or done counseling with, because it can be a really deeply personal thing to share conversations around personal finance. So I really wanted to share more about what that means and what that looks like for folks, so we have more opportunities to connect in our community. There were 658 one-on-one financial counseling appointments completed last year, and these ranged from a 15-minute conversation to an hour-and-a-half conversation. Anything from, I'd like to know more about my credit, to, I want to buy a home. Should I be thinking about buying a car or leasing a car? How do I save properly for retirement or for young people's future education? We sit down and we take these conversations very seriously. We try and create space for people to be heard. This I take very seriously, as this was how I learned about finances. I started my career at Alternatives knowing nothing about how to manage money, how to talk to people about money. And thanks to the resources at Alternatives that now I get to participate in, now I get to have those same conversations with others and help them achieve their dreams. So I just want to say those 4,000 plus financial counseling appointments, I've sat in most of them, and they have touched me in so many ways because they've created opportunities for me to learn, not only from people in our community, but sharing space for people during these difficult times around finance. One of my goals through this program is to make finance and talks about money not so awkward, making it something that we can have more conversations with our family, more conversations in our community. With that, I'd like to pass it over with someone who loves to talk about money as well, and that's Brian Zaff.
Yeah, hi. Usually when I'm talking about the tax program, and I love to talk about the tax program because it's near and dear to my heart, and we do impact a lot of people, I usually talk about the numbers, the number of people we serve, the number of money, dollars that we bring into the community, the number of dollars that we bring into the families. But what I wanted to spend a little time right now is talking about the family. And the reason I was asked to talk about the tax program, but we're still doing taxes, so I'm still immersed in the middle of things. So I grabbed a folder from somebody that came in yesterday. And this is a family, an immigrant family. The mother has 5 children, and right now she's not the sole support. She's the head of the household, but her eldest daughter actually makes 3 times as much money as she does. So what we did was we moved things around, and we made the eldest daughter to be the support for some of her siblings. And that in itself is just, a tax thing that, we can do because we understand the family. We know the tax laws. And so that was a huge benefit for the amount of money or the refunds that they would actually get. But that caused me to think about some other things about family. And that was because that was just a snapshot in time. We've seen these folks, and we're going to see them again. And we've seen other families and how they've grown over the years, how we've gone from having dependents to those dependents now filing taxes, and those dependents now filing taxes with their dependents. So because the program has existed for 20 years. We've seen people over not just a snapshot in time, but a series of snapshots in time. And so we've actually seen, you know, families grow, and how they've grown in terms of you know, family growth, but also in terms of their finances. And one of the families that struck me, that came to mind immediately, was the woman who has 4 children in college right now at the same time. And those kids have gone through a lot. Mom has gone through a lot to put those kids through college. And I'm sure she's going through a little bit of withdrawal now that a couple of them are graduating. So anyway, I just wanted to say, we get the numbers, but we do it for the people. And it's the family growth and the progression over time that makes it all worthwhile. And with that, I'll send it back to Carl, I guess.
Me. Hi again. Wow, community programs has been, talk about Eric's word of tonight, impactful. And I'm going to continue using numbers and impactful to introduce Liz Hudson in just a second. She's our Director of Development. One of the things that we need to make our community programs happen and be successful is that we need money. So Liz is going to talk to you a little bit about Alternatives impact. Take it away, Liz.
Thanks, Chris. Hello, people of the Zoom. Hi, I'm Liz Hudson. I'm the Director of Development at AFCU. I'm the money lady. Being a community development credit union, like Alternatives, which I can't help but proudly add is a designation of distinction even among cooperatively owned credit unions, is hard work. You've heard about some of that work tonight. My responsibility in this work is finding the funding that makes our mission possible. A community development credit union is more than fair and honest banking services. We're here to truly build the local economy, to provide fairer and more equitable access to the tools of capital, to money, for everyone, but especially for those who have been routinely and deliberately denied financial success. We need more staff per member than other organizations. We provide more of our mission for free. We offer free financial education for kids, for teens, for adults, for small business owners, for people who want to start a business. We do this for an easy to understand reason. We believe that knowledge and access helps narrow existing inequalities and paves the way towards a very different economic landscape in the future. Much about money, like Brendan said, can be hard to talk about. So we strive to make it easier. A cooperative credit union like ours takes whatever we earn as a business and turns it around, not to high wealth stockholders who live in other communities, but back to our members, and through the work to the entire local community. It takes a lot of funding to do what we do every day. It takes money to meet our mission. And so we're grateful, we're so grateful for the investment of outside funding from local foundations, individuals, maybe like you, and money from state and federal grants programs. We rely on this partnership of internal and external funding to exist and to keep doing what's right in the most responsive and practical ways every day. If you'd like to talk more about this, I invite you to email me at lhudson@alternatives.org or become a donor yourself by Googling Alternatives COVID Response Fund. Thanks for hearing from me today. Now it's my pleasure to give the mic back to our CEO, Mr. Eric Levine.
Thank you, Liz. Hi again. We're going to take some time now to acknowledge and celebrate the amazing 37-year career of Carol Chernikoff, Alternatives Chief Lending Officer, who retired last month. Carol has simply been the heart and soul of Alternatives. Carol actually was ready and deserved to retire as long as she gave to me, to the staff, the members, and the community at large. Lending is at the core of Alternative's mission, and Carol oversaw that important responsibility for many years with a great, big, innovative heart, stretching the bounds of what other lenders would do to help people get the credit they need to buy a house, a car, start a business, take care of an emergency, or whatever need. And Carol is a great and wise friend, someone I, as CEO, would frequently consult with about important decisions on a regular basis. Carol is loved by all and will be terribly missed by staff, board, and membership. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Lenny Hockman, Alternative's retired and former longtime and well-loved Chief Operations Officer, who worked closely with Carol for many years.
Many years, so many years. I worked with Carol for 31 years. And I'll go right back to the beginning. Bill hired Carol while I was away on vacation. On meeting her on my return, I remember feeling a strong connection as if we were related. And actually, other people must have thought so too, as we were constantly mistaken for each other. In fact, when I retired 6 years ago, Carol was congratulated repeatedly. But now the congratulations are all hers. Back then in 1983, we were both tellers. But as the credit union grew, our positions changed and our responsibilities grew. And Carol chose lending. Our boss, Bill Myers, was the visionary. He was out to change the world. We were the implementers and more concerned with each individual. Carol poured her heart into every interaction and embraced the loan programs that were different, that have the power to change people's lives. Carol deserves way more credit than she even gives herself for her contribution to making Alternatives the special institution that it is. Her advocacy for the staff was instrumental in creating and maintaining the inclusive culture at Alternatives. I doubt staff was aware of just how often it was she who made sure that staff voices were heard. Carol epitomizes the phrase, "If you want something done, ask a busy person." While she was helping people realize their dreams in her role as Chief Lending Officer at Alternatives, and while she was being a most amazing mom to her two sons, Jake and Sam, she also found time to volunteer. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about her huge contributions to the community. That alone would take the 3 minutes I was allotted. Carol's volunteered since the beginning and even co-chaired the planning committee for the highly successful annual fundraiser Women's Swimmin' for Hospicare. And according to Saoirse McClory, who is the director of community supported Hospicare, quote, "Carol's contribution to Women's Swimmin' has been priceless. She is extraordinarily thoughtful, caring, bright, and hardworking, and generously gives her time quietly and effectively to so many organizations." Carol's been an active member of Temple T. Convor. She spearheaded a campaign within the congregation that raised thousands of dollars, allowing the son of a newly settled refugee family from Burundi who'd fled the Civil War to join them in upstate New York. Through Carol's efforts, the family story reached hundreds of individuals, as well as the political and legal connections to help secure the necessary paperwork that immigration required. As her friend Judy Dietz once said, quote, "Carol's just one of those people who steps up to do whatever needs to be done in all spheres of her life: work, play, community, spiritual. That sense of caring, helping is deeply rooted. It's part of the fabric of who she is." There are numerous other organizations that have benefited from Carol's volunteer generosity. INHS, Southern Tier AIDS Programs Right for Life, Hangar Theater, Meals on Wheels, Ithaca Festival, Love Knows No Bounds. Okay, I'll stop. But can you just imagine what a retired Carol can accomplish? After 37 years, Carol is leaving the credit union. I'm hopeful that the culture of inclusivity that Carol championed will continue, and confident that the mission will carry on. For someone who planned to stay at the credit union for 6 months, maybe a year, Carol, you were lucky enough to have a career that mattered. It wasn't always fun, it wasn't always easy, and that's an understatement. but it made a difference to countless lives. That's so special, and you're so special. They say one measure of a great workplace is having a close friend. I feel very lucky to have had such a good friend at work and know we will continue the connection in our retirement. I'm sorry that work ended with the COVID crisis. I hope you still feel all the love and appreciation coming your way. Next up is B. Nellenbach, mortgage underwriter and lending outreach coordinator. Love you, Carol.
Thanks, Lenny. So I was lucky to be supervised by Carol for about 3 years before she retired just at the end of May. So I'm happy to share my experiences working with Carol. I've known her for many years, actually. Prior to working at Alternatives, I got to coordinate with her in my work at Tompkins Community Action and the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. Be so bold as to say that our mutual admiration fest started back then, sometime around 2007. I was impressed with and inspired by Carol, a woman in a leadership position in the finance world, and one who seemed to have remained grounded and sincerely committed to serving her community. Carol and I kept in touch over the years professionally, and in 2017, the fates aligned with an open position, and I happily accepted the offer to get to work on the mortgage team at Alternatives, with Carol at the helm of the lending department. Carol taught me the ins and outs of residential mortgage underwriting, the technical aspects of the job. She appreciated a good mortgage loan, but more than that, truly appreciated the people and their stories. She loved to be a supportive resource and to cheer members on, sometimes for years, sometimes against the odds, as they saved and repaired credit or built credit, and worked hard and saved some more. In the end, seeing community members find houses that they could make into homes and having a hand in helping them get there seemed truly rewarding to Carol. And I picked up on that right away and felt further inspired. I also share Carol's passion for hearing people's stories, and I share her commitment to the mission of Alternatives. I'm grateful to her for recognizing that from day one, encouraging me to find my place at Alternatives, and playing to my strengths by giving me opportunities to serve on committees focused directly on how we are carrying out our mission, inviting me to be at the table, to be part of the teams of people involved in listening to the community, understanding what's needed, and developing new loan products from there. One such recent product that Carol championed was the Reentry Loan Fund, which launched just this past spring. In developing the program, Carol sought feedback from people who were formerly incarcerated and from partner organizations doing reentry work in our community. Over time and with careful consideration, our team developed a microloan intended to be one more possible piece of the puzzle of support that is needed to help individuals working to find their footing after time spent in jail or prison. I was proud to work on developing this product alongside Carol and others. And it is just one example of the kind of community-driven, solution-oriented, mission-based lending that has been Carol's focus and her good work. Working with Carol meant all of this. It also meant working with a fantastic storyteller, a kind-hearted and caring boss, truly someone who has empathy and checks in about the well-being of her staff and her coworkers. Retiring in the time of COVID-19 has its real challenges. When it dawned on us that we couldn't get together and share hugs and food and champagne right now, we began to think about other ways to express our gratitude to Carol for her many years of service and her friendship. I was happy to organize one small way and pose some questions to the staff, current and some former too. It was so fun to see the responses come in. People sharing what they've learned from Carol, their funniest memories, their favorite moments, and what they would miss about working with her. I gathered 8 pages of heartfelt well wishes and responses, and we were able to organize a small group of staff to read her this masterpiece in real time. On Zoom, of course. And we even arranged for her favorite intern, Aviv, to join us from Italy, I think he was in Italy, to take part as a reader. It wasn't a party per se, but we hope it was something special nonetheless. Carol, it's been a sincere pleasure to work with you for these last 3 years. Thank you for your hard work, your dedication, your passion, your commitment, and for modeling how very important it is to see the person and their story first and the numbers second. Wishing you much joy and happiness in the years to come. Back to you, Chris, I think. Lenny?
Yes, so now what we're going to do, thank you guys. We collected about 8 of those quotes, and we're going to read a few of those quotes to you, just so everybody can feel a little bit of that love from that storytelling and that everybody, well, a lot of folks were a part of. B, can you read the first one?
Yeah. I love how she seems to know everyone and not just know of them, but really knows them. This is because Carol cares about people and loves to connect with people. She is the most generous with her praise and compliments for others, always taking time to make sure that people feel appreciated and valued for who they are and for the work that they do.
I love her big heart. She truly cares about people and has empathy for whatever you may be suffering through in life.
Her love of children and dogs. In the early days, oh so long ago, the kids would get up on the teller counter and jump into her arms. The dogs would get their noses up to the edge for a dog treat.
Okay, sorry, you guys can hear me laughing. Oh, how she was such a champion for me and was actively encouraging my professional and personal development. She has had a huge and positive influence on me and my life, and I am forever grateful.
I remember her tilting her head and looking askance, scrunching her facial features inwardly, signifying no.
One thing? How can I possibly limit it to one thing? Biggest thing I love is Carol's big heart. There are just so many people, members, staff, interns, friends, colleagues, who have felt her caring, concern, her making them feel welcome, her going the extra mile to give a helping hand. She has had a positive impact on so many lives. One huge example is how she helped Fidela bring her son into the US.
My favorite memory of Carol is meeting her for the first time as a 15-year-old and feeling like I had met the most important woman in Ithaca.
The way she has increased the visibility of women in finance for so many years. Pioneer work is never easy. Carol Turnikoff, thank you so much for everything that you have done for us as a credit union, as a community, as a mom, as a teacher, as an influencer, and a pioneer, and just an overall amazing human. Thank you. We are indebted to you. Thank you so much, and we miss you already. All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to be yay! I see all the clapping. That's awesome. We're going to switch gears a little bit, and now we're going to be acknowledging some staff, board members, and other community members in our community. So Eric, take it away for the Lotus Award.
Okay, so the Lotus Award is given out at Alternative's annual meeting to an employee who has shown outstanding our mission, vision, and values. The recipient's commitment to living our culture and values are the relationships they have built with our members, our organization, and within the community. For the first time, it is going to a group of people, because this group of people, during a very difficult and stressful time, the current pandemic, and worked around the clock for weeks, 60 to 80 plus hour weeks. They did this to get out as many federal pay loans, known as PPPs, while simultaneously getting out the City of Ithaca's Small Business Resiliency Fund loans, the SBRFs, and now they are deploying 0% Community Assistance Loan Fund loans. They worked weeks and weeks to do this, above and beyond what I could have asked them to do. Here to do it. And they did an amazing job. They knocked it out of the park. By putting our members first, these teams demonstrated unwavering commitment to our members, mission, and values. And we couldn't be prouder. And for that reason, the Lotus Award goes to the business lending team and the Director of Business Services, Kathleen Clark. The business lending team is comprised of Director Bob Anderson, Business Loan Officer Branka Gligoric, and Business Loan Assistant Don Bob, Branca, Dante, and Kathleen, congratulations. Now, to introduce Alternative's Vice President on the Board who is presenting the award for of the year.
Thanks, Eric. Hi, everybody, friends and colleagues, Alternative Zoom Landia. I am, as Eric mentioned, I'm the Vice Directors, and I'm thrilled and delighted to Volunteer of the Year for 2020 to my colleague, our outgoing Ashley Cake. I have had the pleasure of knowing Ashley for 8 years, but in the last 2 years since I joined the board of directors, I've gotten to know her in new context. And this amazing woman is someone I admire for her dedication to deeply held values of justice and community. She's someone who truly walks her talk. Remember, she's always the one who makes sure we don't overlook so justice impacts of our policy decisions. She's always working to make sure heard, including and especially the voices that aren't represented at the table. She's just all the time. I think Alternative's mission is baked into her DNA. The board of directors went through some challenging times this past year. We had disagreements over management, and they led several board members to resign, including the former. But Ashley generously stepped into the void, and she contributed an incredible effort as the interim president for the last. And what's been particularly inspiring for me to see is how modeled the kind of reflective, self-examining leadership that makes us and as teams. I will note that Washington could probably use a little bit of that kind. But she asked the kinds of questions like, what mistakes were made, and what part did, and what can I learn from it, and how can I do better? How can we do better? And as a result, our board emerged stronger and more committed than ever. And we now, tonight, slate of incoming amazing new board members, starting, as I said, most of whom Ashley recruited. So thank you for that, Ashley, on top of everything else. Personally, and I'm sure others join me in saying that I'm just incredibly sorry to see her. She has promised to rejoin the board again in future, so I hope you will all help me. And in the meantime, Ashley, thank you so much for your service organization. Ashley Cake, Volunteer of the Year. Hand it over to you if you'd like to say a couple of words.
Y'all are really good at potential. I'm completely floored, and station means a tremendous amount to me, and especially coming from you. The business sense program, that last class that you taught opened the watershed and now the downstairs. So this organization means a tremendous amount to me, and it was my honor to serve.
All right, well, I have another pleasure because I get to introduce another amazing. We are so fortunate in this community to have Jeff Furman as but this credit union. For many, many years, Jeff has devoted his time and energy to human rights, economic justice causes for the good of our region and our country, and honor with Ben from writing their first mission. He served inception in 1985, and some of you may remember he opened a not-for-profit scoop shop on the Commons in the 90s. He's also worked locally with Social Ventures, an Ithaca-based not-for-profit, among others. And most recently, Nike and Homegrown Skate Shop on the Commons. And this led to $50,000 in donations to youth programs at GIAC, the Greater Ithaca Activity Center. With all this good work to his name, it should be no surprise that Alternative's Small Business Award is named after him. So to present the Jeff Furman Award for Social Responsibility in Business, I give you Jeff Furman.
Well, thank you. I assume I have figured out how to unmute myself. And oh, there's a thumbs up. Thank you. And first of all, I appreciate that introduction. I hadn't realized that I was known for my skateboarding. I've never even been on a skateboard. So life is full of a lot of myths, and that is one. I did work with the skateboard park community to get the original skateboard park built, and also enhanced, and did work with Andrew Douglas to raise that money, but skateboarding is not in my career. But saying that, I do want to step back for a moment and join the Carol Chernikoff fan club as an honorary member. I know she has helped so many people in our community get a home and get financial security. But for me, she's also a person that is filled with such grace and kindness. And she's just a wonderful person that I have known for over 35 years. And I know she's been an integral part of the great work that the credit union does, for which I also want to honor and thank, particularly for the work you do serving the underserved in our community. And of course, your leadership on living wage. And I can't say that without saying hello to Lenny for her work on that. And that's something that's very dear to me. So the way the Jeff Furman Award works is somebody from the credit union, and this was Carol this year, called me up about the award just about the time the pandemic was making national news. And I thought about it a little bit, and I just have felt then and feel even more so now that it's essential that we just do different things and have to operate different in this through the pandemic and through the tragedies that we've seen in our country over the last few weeks. And I began to hear some of the comments about essential workers. The news stories were coming out about people dying, predominantly people of color and the elderly. And I learned about essential workers. I first thought actually they were the people who worked in the medical profession. They were the doctors and the nurses that were essential to help people who had gotten COVID-19. But then I learned that essential workers were really farm workers and grocery store workers and restaurant workers and home health workers and bus drivers and fast food workers, and being asked not to risk their health, while others have learned choice kind of thing between healthcare and income. All they wanted to do was survive, and they were just given this ridiculous choice to make and struggle through this. So I feel that they're really important to honor. And I know we can thank or celebrate them or appreciate them, but most important, I'm asking our community to stand with them in their ongoing struggle for a living wage, for healthcare, for housing, and safe working conditions. And, you know, we know that this choice of having an income or a healthy life is something that the people of color in our country have suffered for and are still suffering with having to make those kinds of choices. There's a community in New Orleans right now called the St. James Parish, where it's Cancer Alley and it's highly polluted. And yet they're bringing in a plastic making company from Formosa, from Taiwan, and it's called Formosa, and they've given them $1.6 billion of tax abatement. And these people, which already have pollution in the air, this firm is noted to double the amount of pollution there. And they are all faced with that same dilemma that our essential workers were faced with, that dilemma of healthcare versus food. And I know that in between my call with Carol and tonight, George Floyd lost his life while being strangled by a police officer, pleaded that he could not breathe. And recently, Rayshard Brooke was shot in the back while a simple call for a tow truck could have resolved that situation. And I'm here asking that police should not be armed with expensive artillery that maim and kill, while nurses tie themselves up in garbage sacks around their bodies and reuse masks in a futile effort to stay free from COVID-19. But in saying all this, I want to also recognize that we've had an amazing week of hope. Just this week, the LGBT community has made a great stride in being able to work without being prejudiced against them. This is a human rights victory. In Seattle, police unions have been banned and the establishment of a police-free zone has happened. There were serious charges brought against the shooter and his partner in the killing of Rayshard Brooks. And DACA restored to thousands of young people the right that they could breathe a little easier. And tomorrow, there is going to be hundreds of national and local events celebrating Juneteenth, including one here in Ithaca on the Commons at noon. And so today, I want to honor all those who have been organizing, participating, and supporting these wins, both locally and nationally. This is really a time to be all in for justice for all. And I want to thank the credit union, the people that work there, the members of our community that are leading these marches and demonstrations, and those nationally along the way. There's hundreds of groups happening, and this is a hopeful moment, and let's hope we can stick together and work together to make it become much better in the future for those who are marginalized. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you for your words. It's my honor to introduce the Student Credit Union of the Year Awards. We have 2 winners this year. As I mentioned earlier, Joe Cummins, our community development educator who runs the Student Credit Union, was unable to join us tonight. I'm not sure if I am still on. Okay. Sorry, folks, I'm not sure. I lost my video, so I wasn't sure if I was still on.
You're on, Carl.
Okay, great. As I mentioned, Joe Cummins is our community development educator. Since 2000, Joe has run the Student Credit Union program. He's held financial education sessions for young people in the schools during the summer with youth employment programs. And I should also mention that Joe and Brendan run our MoneyWise financial education program for adults. Joe is responsible for the content of that program, and is actually currently revising the program because of the the new distance virtual component that we have to introduce because of COVID. But the Student Credit Union predates the establishment of the Community Programs Department. The Student Credit Union, or SCU, was formed in 1990 when we realized the importance of teaching young people the habit of savings. The Student Credit Union includes all members of the credit union under the age of 19. At the end of 2019, we had 1,318 members with $1,531,000 in deposits. And that includes 10 in-school branches in the Ithaca City and Trumansburg Central School Districts. The in-school branches would not be able to function without our volunteers. In 2019, we had 24 youth and 46 adult volunteers. And tonight we honor 2 of our most dedicated volunteers. Our first award goes to Meg Webster, the speech and hearing teacher at Beverly J. Martin Elementary School. During Ms. Webster's 5 years with the branch, we took in 441 deposits for $13,505. Thank you, Ms. Webster. Our second award goes to Liz Bergman, a professor at Ithaca College and a volunteer at South Hill Elementary School. During Ms. Bergman's 6 years as a volunteer, the branch of South Hill took in 1,196 deposits for $18,129. Thank you both, Meg Webster and Liz Bergman, for helping our students develop the important habit of savings. Now I'd like to introduce Riley Shane. Riley is our Chief Operations Officer.
Thank you, Carl. Hi, everybody. It's really nice to see a lot of you. It's been a long time since I've seen a lot of you, so it's good to have you here. Thanks for joining us. Today, I get to present the Solid Rock Award. And this award is being given to a long-time, loyal, and steadfast volunteer and member. He served on our board for many years, even as our president, but stepped down when he became the town supervisor of Ithaca. He's been on our supervisory committee for a long time as well, and we're glad to have him because of his vast credit union knowledge and strong commitment to the responsibilities of the committee. So thank you, Bill Goodman, for your enduring commitment to our credit union and your deep appreciation of the community that we serve. We would like to thank you on behalf of our members and staff. With passion, dedication, and great curiosity, you've demonstrated time and again what it means to be a part of a place where good things happen. We thank you, truly, for your service, and know we would not be the community development organization we are without your tireless effort and steadfast vision. You are an inspiration to our team. Union business. But before I turn it over, I'd like to take the time. I'm going to introduce Ashley, and I'd like to say, Ashley, it's been a pleasure having you at the helm as president for the last 6 months and on the board for as long as you've been. Your dedication, compassion, commitment, and support during this time has meant a lot to the staff and members inside the building. So Ashley, will you please take us into the board of directors business?
Thank you so much, Riley. Your operations committee is one of my favorites. At the outset, I would like to take a moment to recognize specifically the brilliant work of Michelle Courtney Berry and her staff in curating this important ceremony under extraordinary circumstances. Thank you so much, Michelle. As my term on the board comes to an end, I have been reflecting on what a humbling honor it has been to be a small part of alternatives these last 3 years. I've been able to tie my deep passion for social responsibility, small business advocacy, and engaged citizenship to serving on the board of not just the credit union, but what I believe to be a powerful part of a growing movement, sustainable social justice in our community. AFCU is part of an economic justice movement that will continue to grow and build as we look forward to how we can be not just good stewards of economic and social justice, but also how we can be a haven for those who need us most. I remain committed to building wealth among low-income folks and families. Organization. Thank you so much. So now to the board business. Bear with us. We, in order to vote on the slate of candidates, we need to ascertain a quorum for this meeting. Larry has a poll in our Zoom meeting, and if all members present could indicate that yes, they are members and they are here to vote, we can proceed with the vote. Cool. Yeah, I am not able to click on that.
We have achieved a quorum of at least 15 members.
Wonderful, thank you so much. I would like to entertain a motion for the membership to elect the duly nominated slate of candidates to be elected to the Board of Directors. Lenny Hockman, I see that you have a motion. Thank you so much. And Carol Chernikoff for the second. Thank you so much. So all those in favor of electing Tolkien Idarova, Alyssa Hull, Amina Omari, Christopher Teitelbaum, and Leonardo Vargas Mendez to the Board of Directors of Alternative Federal Credit Union, please use the polling function to vote now.
So I think we have all in favor and none opposed.
Thank you all so much. And now, without further ado, I will turn it over to Richard Lansdowne with the Supervisory Committee report.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending. Thank you for listening in. I am also just sending out a little chat line to everyone in reference to AFCU's Alternatives Annual report. You'll find the Supervisory Committee's report on page 16. I also want to thank Bill for his participation in the committee, as well as Kenny and Leonardo. In addition, all of us thank Melissa extensively for her immense help and assistance. The general summary of the Supervisory Committee report is that we retain an auditor to review the financial statements, which they found to be in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And you'll find an overview of those financial statements in the annual report on page 23 and 24. You may also request the financial statements report directly from Alternatives if you wish to see the entire report. With that, I am going to turn this over Dave, who's going to proceed with the meeting of the Alternatives Fund.
All right, thank you, Richard. Good evening. My name is Dave Makar, and I am a member of the board of the Alternatives Fund of Ithaca. I have been a member of the Alternatives Fund since 2004 when I moved to Ithaca and joined Alternatives. Soon after I joined Alternatives, I also met Carol. Shout out to Carol. Congratulations. I've known you as long as I've been a member. The Alternatives Fund is a membership organization which allows members of our community to join Alternatives Federal Credit Union. If you are a member of Alternatives Federal Credit Union, then you are a member of the Alternatives Fund of Ithaca. Congratulations and welcome. The mission of the Alternatives Fund is to create, support, and advocate for the economic well-being of communities and individuals, especially low-income people, people of color, and women, with a focus on improving the economy of upstate New York. This year, we carried out the mission with 2 distinct loan projects for people who would not qualify for traditional financing. The first loan is a loan for community members with high debt ratios. This loan has a maximum value of $500 and must be paid back within 18 months. For the second loan project is a credit builder program for families experiencing homelessness. The goal of these loan projects is to act as short-term stopgap for community members with low credit scores, an immediate need, and a high likelihood of having the ability to pay off their loan. AFI, or Alternatives Fund, continually looks for innovative ways to make an impact on our community. We are always looking for volunteers to help us out and join the board. If you're interested, please seek me out. I'm around town. You can also talk to our other board members, Allison Christie, Una Moneypenny, and B. Nallenbeck, at any time that you see us or come across us online or offline. In addition to carrying out these programs this year, we also launched our website, alternativesfund.org. You can learn more about the mission of the organization and the programs of the Alternatives Fund. Finally, this year, we expanded our board by bringing on longtime community member Una Moneypenny to join the board and Alternatives Credit Union staff member B. Nallenbeck to the board. They bring fresh ideas and additional support to meeting our mission. Finally, as you learn about the programs of Alternatives Fund, please keep in mind that we can accept donations either through the fund directly or through Alternatives Impact. And we will be able to turn that money right back into the community to help more people get access to funds they need to continue. All donations help carry out our mission, and we thank you if you're interested in supporting us in that way. And with that, we do have to have one piece of business this year, which is a board election. We have a slate of candidates. Allison Christie, who is currently our treasurer and is in her third term with the Alternatives Fund. She would be serving on the board for 2020 through 2022 term. Una Moneypenny, who currently is our secretary for the 2020 to 2021 term, and B. Nallenbeck, currently serving as a member at large for our 2020 to 2022 term. Now, in order for this to work, I need someone to move this slate forward. I recognize Eric. Thank you, Eric. Do I have a second? I think we can begin the voting. And that is it. We are at 27 out of 27. Thank you for your support. We appreciate it. Thank you for letting us add on to the Alternatives annual meeting. We really look forward to the next year of continuing to work and serve the community together. Back to you, Chris.
Yes, thanks, Dave. Well, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. And it was really an honor to celebrate everybody here. And those of you who can't, I do want to let you know that the certificates, we'll be framing them and Eric's going to be signing them. And so you guys will actually get the physical awards shortly. So thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Now we're going to wrap up our evening. I am going to introduce Sing Treese. She is a powerful live performer. As an independent recording artist who changes hearts one positive note at a time. She encourages and inspires with every note she belts out so effortlessly with every song she writes or is asked to sing. Sing Treese is a playwright, a director, an actress, a singer, songwriter, mother, a wife, an all-around amazing woman. Take it away.
Well, you know that my husband must have wrote that. Hi, everyone. I'm Sing Treese. This is my husband, Kenneth McLaurin, and my husband and I wrote a song a couple years ago about banking, and we decided to put it to YMCA music, and it is called AFCU. Well, that's what we're going to call it today, AFCU. I would like to add that I've been a part of a lot of programs in the alternatives, so this is an honor to be able to sing for you guys today as well. Thank you, Michelle Berry, for asking me to be a part of this as well. So I hope that you guys enjoy. And I can get y'all participation if possible. You know, I know I can't hear you guys, but if y'all could do like the A, and then this is F, and this is C, you just kind of bring it out a little bit, and then you go back to U. So A, F, C, U. So you got it? A, F, C, U. So here we go. Ready? Here we go. Finances, what do you want it to be? I said finances, come on and set yourself free. I said finances, can you be that free? There's no need to worry for finances. There's a place you can go. Finances, there's no need to be shy for finances. There's a place you can grow. That's why you're here for us. Y'all ready? It's fun to bank at AFCU. It's fun to bank at AFCU. Get your credit up so you can buy a home. That's night troubles, get emergencies on. Bank at AFCU. Come on and bank at AFCU. They have everything to make your assets grow. Don't you want to see your future grow? We are lending a helping hand to create thriving communities. Financial freedom for everyone. What are you waiting for? You can take the credit path that will empower generations. Can't you see the time is now? What are you waiting for? Y'all ready? Here we go. Fun to bank at AFCU. It's fun to bank at AFCU. Get your credit score up so you can buy a home. Got life troubles, get emergency loans. Bank at AFCU. Come on and bank at AFCU. They have everything to make your assets grow. Don't you want to see your future grow? It's your finances. Are you listening to me? It's finances. Investments are the key. I said finance classes you up to speed. Spend less, save more. Open doors, making small steps towards your goals. Making right choices will be the norm. You'll see it's nothing to fear. Come down, make your start here. Here we go. It's fun to bank at AFCU. It's fun to bank at AFCU. Get your credit up so you can buy a home. Got life troubles, get emergency loans. Bank at AFCU. Come on and bank at AFCU. Hey, they can have everything to make your assets grow. Don't you want to see your future grow? It's fun to bank at AFCU. It's fun to bank at AFCU. Hey, get your credit up so you can buy a home. Got life troubles, get emergency loans. Bank at AFCU. Yes, AFCU, that is for you. Thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of your 20th year of community building programs. Like I said, I've been a part of it. I know Kenneth probably been a part of it. And we thank you for it. Thank you, Michelle, again, for allowing us to be a part.
Back to you, Chris.
It's me. Hi. So I'm really honored to be with you all tonight. I'm Michelle Courtney-Berrien, Chief Marketing Officer at Alternatives. Therese, love you so much. Thank you so much for that song you and Kenneth wrote. I've been asked to sum up what we heard tonight, and so I just took some notes on some themes, so I'll share those with you. A time to be all in for heard, creating an economic movement is where we live. Remembering our mission at this critical time is what we're doing. The use of money has social, political, and economic consequences. We care about people, they matter. There's never been a more important time as we live in history at this time. Celebrating 20 years of community programs and impact, the key word is ownership. Community building, values, access to for those traditionally abused, ignored, forgotten, marginalized, find their home and haven here. We're a movement devoted to eradicating poverty. We're not a bank, we are a movement. We're not here to gather capital to build profit, but to build community and lead profound, impactful things. Speaking of impact, please give today because all of your dollars stay local and stay here. We are building the future. We need your help. From hands-on appointments to caring words of advice, and for us to learn to do as much listening as we do teaching, for credit management and expansion, for plans to build for a home, for a series of snapshots in time. This is Alternatives, your community development credit union. After 41 years, we've watched families grow, we've watched families succeed and thrive. We want to do better, we want to learn from you. To reduce your anxiety, to have you know we think local first, to have you invest locally because your money stays here. We are building the local economy one moment at a time, one person at a time, one idea at a time. Thank you for this great credit union that has stood up for justice and a living wage. It takes all of you to build our mission, and we thank you for all that you have done. For Carol Turnikoff, for 30 plus years of being a for a friendship and a tie that binds, for the mutual admiration, for being a leading woman in this field. It is hard to be a pioneer, for the houses that built themselves into homes, for your passion for storytelling, for all of us that are a puzzle piece that fit together to make this community great. We are solutions-based. People matter, their stories matter. People coming to us and us helping them is a story of us working around the clock to get these loans deployed, but beyond that, to get your voices heard. For all of you who put members first, for mission, values, and meaning, for our social and justice of baking that mission into our DNA every day. Thank you for the fiery words that you shared, the thoughts and ideas that you brought, the living way leadership that makes us a hallmark and makes us stand out in the world. People look to us, we look to them. How could we do better? How could we be a community that continues to stand together in these turbulent times? How could we look at the fact that our essential workers haven't always been seen as essential? How could we lift them up? How could we demilitarize police officers and police departments so that we could put the money in the hands of the workers who are putting their lives on the line each and every day? For 20 years of community service and program, a time to be all in and justice for all, for money wise and wisdom, for deposits of cash and love, time and energy, for a loving board, a caring staff, a great community of customers, members, and community builders, from all you award winners tonight who gave of your time, for all the thoughts and deeds, not always thanked, not always seen. Thank you all for what you do to make Alternatives Federal Credit Union a wonderful place where we want more people to know about us. We never want to be a secret. We want you to know what we do. We want you to invest in us as we invest back in you. Thank you.
Holy smokes. I am moved, and I know everybody here is too. I want to thank you guys once again for joining us for the 2020 Alternatives Federal Credit Union annual meeting. You guys have an amazing evening, and we will see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.